Hello, my little fuzzy bat butts. Today for my video, I am doing a Lady of Haunts video. That's right, the series is returning on my channel. I would like to do this for all of October. I'm not making any promises, however, but my goal is to upload one of these once a week, a Lady of Haunts video for October, because it has been so greatly requested by you guys. I'm also going to be making a playlist on my channel of all my previous Lady of Haunt videos and my current Lady of Haunts videos. So if you feel like going on a spooky watching spree, you can just click on that playlist and let it play through. A quick disclaimer before I hop into this video, Lady of Haunts videos do have to do with paranormal, mysterious, and strange things. These Lady of Haunts videos are more so fun and questioning things around you. It's not meant as absolute truths. Unless you've had it happen to you, then it would be an absolute truth, wouldn't it? But without further ado, let's hop into this week's topic. Ooh. So the topic I have today is really fun and interesting. Well, I guess it's not that fun if you're on the receiving end of this situation happening. My sister-in-law and I were sitting in the living room and we were talking about how excited we were for fall, which led into us exchanging spooky stories and things to do with the paranormal. And she brought up this very fascinating topic called Black-Eyed Children, and it also is abbreviated to BEC, I believe. And so she started to tell me about these black-eyed children and the events that would happen with this, and I found it very intriguing. So I went online and I started doing some research, and I even purchased a book, which I'm going to recommend to you guys as well. If you would like to learn more about this topic, please check out this book. The author is really well versed and he writes very well, so it's easy to follow. But I also listened to some podcasts as well, and I was very intrigued on finding out more about this topic. So what are black-eyed children and how do they make their presence known to you? We have photobombing dogs once more. We went to my old filming spot and this is what happens. We get the photobombing pooches. Okay, go lay down. Go lay down, honey. You guys gotta go lay down. So what are black-eyed children and how do they make their presence known to you? They are little kids that typically are younger children or in their preteens. The way that they're dressed, some people say that they're dressed in more of Amish clothes, and some people say that they're wearing regular like hoodie with jeans, but something about the clothes looks homemade or off-putting or just doesn't look quite right. The big factor about these children also is that their skin is very flawless and looks very nice and clean, and if they're preteens, normally people have blemishes and pimples and things of that nature, but these kids have very beautiful complexions or even like an eerie perfect complexion, and their eyes are completely black. Now, being in the goth subculture, I know that there are these blackout lenses that you can purchase, and they're really not that expensive these days. You can go on any website and you can purchase these for like $20, $30. Sometimes if you're getting a more better made one, it'll be like $60. Because the first thing that popped into my head was, all right, black-eyed children, this easily could be a hoax and kids could be buying these contact lenses. They aren't as expensive as one would think, and it's easy to get to on the internet these days, especially because I see it all the time in the gothic subculture. It's an aesthetic and people wear it often. Well, the accounts that I looked into take place further back in the 90s. In the 90s, these contact lenses would have been extremely expensive to get your hands on, and they would have been very hard to get your hands on as well. So that kind of like debunked my theory for that time frame. For our current state of time frame, I still think that it could be like leaning on the side of being a hoax, like somebody could do it as a prank. But I also feel like if we look back towards the 90s and 70s, 60s, that time frame, it would have been a lot harder for this to be a hoax. We're gonna look at the cases that happened during this time frame. So I'm gonna share with you guys a couple stories that I've heard about these black-eyed children. The first story I have is of a man who was just chilling in his house, relaxing, reading a book, and he heard a weird tapping noise on the front door of his home. He thought that it was wind or like a tree branch or something just scraping on the side of the house. So he continues trying to read. He hears this tapping more and more, And getting frustrated, he gets up out of his chair, he goes to the front door to see what it is, and he sees these children standing on his front porch. He opens the door and he asks them, you know, what do you want? What's going on? Are you okay? And they proceed to tell him that they need to come into his house. He needs to let them into his house. And they're more so aggressive with how they're saying that they need to come into his house. And something that is very reoccurring with these stories is that the witnesses say that their bodies instantly go into this fight or flight mode where they're, you know, that feeling you get whenever something happens and it spooks you and your heart flutters and you really want to escape or you want to find some way out of the situation. These kids invoke fear at the very first sighting of them. So the guy proceeds to try to ask them more questions. The kids slowly lift up their head, exposing completely black eyes and their eerie faces. He shuts the door, runs back in his house, and he's terrified, super scared. He still hears the knocking. He turns around to look. He has a glass door. He can see the kids staring into his door with their black eyes. He gets angry and goes to get his gun. Whenever he comes back with his gun, the kids are gone. I have one more story about a man, and this takes place outdoors because I wanted to also include an outdoor story and not just an indoor story. This guy was really friendly, lives out in the country, working on his farm. He's always very nice to passerbys, a very friendly guy in general. He sees little kids on his property and he doesn't really think anything about it. He just kind of starts trying to make conversation with them, being nice. And kid tells this old man that he has to take him to his house. He needs to be inside this man's house. And the man, of course, being freaked out by this demand from a little kid, tells the little kid basically that, you know, I don't think I should do that. I don't think it's right. The kid looks up and he exposes black eyes. The kid is very menacing and wants to go in the house very badly. And the man, being freaked out, actually runs away from the kid. And he says that whenever he's running away, he hears a scream that sounds like a bobcat scream. Now, I lived out in the country growing up for quite some time. I worked on my grandma and grandpa's farm, so I know what a bobcat sounds like. And literally, you guys, when a bobcat does its cry or its scream, it sounds like a woman shrieking at the top of her lungs. So for me, this is terrifying to hear that that's what he heard from that little kid as he was running away. So are there any cases where people have actually invited someone into their house or they've had contact with one of these creepy black-eyed children? There is a case where a woman did have an encounter with a black-eyed child. She was at her local grocery store. She went there all the time, a small town. Everybody knows each other, not a big deal. She leaves her son in the back seat of her SUV and she goes in to return the shopping cart after finishing getting her groceries. So whenever she returns to the vehicle from putting up her shopping cart, she sits in the vehicle, starts up the engine, she's in autopilot mode. She does this all the time. She's getting ready to go, looks in her rearview mirror to start backing up, and she notices another child in the back seat next to her child. And her heart stops, and whenever she turns around to look at this other child, that child looks up and exposes that it has completely black eyes. She is horrified, hops out of her vehicle, grabs her son out of the vehicle, and they run back inside the grocery store. She tells the clerk what happened in a frenzy. The clerk goes out to check the vehicle, and the vehicle is there with the two doors open, and there is no one inside the vehicle. The mother is completely shooken up, calls her husband, and explains to him what happened. He comes to drive her vehicle home, and she's going to take his vehicle and drive it back to the house with their son. She just doesn't want to have anything to do with that vehicle right now. Well, while the dad is driving the vehicle home, he actually gets hit in a collision. It's a really bad wreck, and he has to go to the ER. Fast forward a few months forward, the dad's okay, he's recovering, but the son breaks down in this very strange illness. It's unexplained. Doctors can't explain what it is, and they don't know what's going on with this kid. The diagnosis changes every time they think that they've solved what's happening. I found this really intriguing, and in articles that I've read, it alludes to if you have direct contact with these black-eyed children, your body reacts in a way where you get ill, you get sick, your body starts kind of shutting off. and unfortunate events happen to you. I found this intriguing, so I tried to look in further and find out why people think that that is. What I've found is a lot of people think that these black-eyed children are actually aliens that are trying to put on a human type suit, and they know that adults are more open to children and they're more trusting to children, and these aliens are wanting to get inside human houses, and the way that they're trying to go about that is by looking like a child, because children are typically innocent and adults are more trusting of children. Another theory is that people think that the black-eyed children are demons since such horrible events happen, or they think that they're spawns of Satan. Oh, speaking of spawns, I'm gonna hop back on saying the alien theory of what people think that they're aliens. People also think that black-eyed children might be the spawn of humans and aliens interbreeding. When humans get abducted, they believe that a lot of the times you hear stories about men having their sperm taken or women having their eggs being used by the aliens. This is typical in a lot of UFO stories or abduction stories that I've read on. So people are also having the theory that these black-eyed children are offsprings of these human-alien hybrids. If you guys have a theory on what you think the black-eyed children are, please feel free to comment in the comment section below. Or if you have any books that you've read on black-eyed children that you have found very fascinating, feel free to share that in the comment section below. If you've had any experiences with black-eyed children, also feel free to comment that down below. I'd love to hear about it, and I'm sure the other viewers would love to hear about it as well. I found this topic really interesting. I did my research, and what I have told you is basically a gist of what I have gathered on the black-eyed children. Feel free to share your viewpoints down below or any information that you have gathered on this topic as well. This was a really quick video, and it was honestly more so like a brief overview of black-eyed children. I do recommend reading this book that I'm going to have right here linked up. There's a ton of info in it. The writing is really good, and I feel like anybody that's looking for a spooky read for Halloween would really enjoy this book. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you again next week, where we can talk more about spoopy things. I love you so much. Be safe. Mwah! I'll talk to you soon, and don't open up your door for any black-eyed children. Bye. Tschüss. Tschüssi. Mwah.